First of all, hi and welcome to my video. My name is Karoline. I am originally Danish, but I live in Scotland with my partner Ben. Today's a bit of a roundup of the knitting I've done since I've seen you last, which is I think a tiny bit over a month. In that time, it's been Christmas. Not that I feel like I have that much to show for it. I had a very lovely long Christmas break, but I actually didn't spend... I don't feel like I accomplished as much as I thought I would, and I feel like that's quite a common thing for me. The main thing I finished in my Christmas holidays is this. A cardigan number 7 it's called. I can also see that little yarn is peeking up. A cardigan number 7 from Myfavouritethingsknitwear. So it's a raglan cardigan. This one has lovely balloon sleeves. I decided to slightly extend mine. I think in the pattern she calls for sort of like slightly cropped, sort of this kind of length, but I knew that wasn't really for me. I'm missing a button, so I ordered some other buttons which I might replace it with, but to be honest, you guys, currently we're not really going out much, so I haven't really taken the time to finish that part. But yeah, there's an extra buttonhole, so that is something to keep in mind. This is a 2XL, which is what the pattern recommended. The XL would have been basically my bust measurement, and I just thought I wanted to make sure it wasn't too tight fitting, but I still find it a bit... I don't think it fits that tight towards the bottom, which is quite a common problem for me, being sort of like bigger chested and then slim around my belly, that sometimes it can look a bit bigger. But it's obviously a pattern by Myfavouritethingsknitwear, and this is the second pattern I've knit from her, and I own 2 more patterns, and I always think they're really, really well written, and this is definitely no exception. I knitted this in Softness course and Camerose Monostråle, which means, and I kind of hope it can show up, it has like a slight silver like shimmer to it. It's really pretty. However, I didn't enjoy Softness course at all. I thought it was horrific to knit with. It has quite a high plastic content, and it just felt, you know, when you knit it, it wasn't like a blow yarn like I've tried knitting with like Camerose's Sniff Nook, and it didn't feel like that at all. It kind of just split in kind of weird ways at times. I also found that, especially on the body, for some reason it looks extra uneven, like the stitches they don't look very neat, and I usually never have that kind of problem. It also took me a while to make sure I properly hit gauge, so I think the problem was that I actually knitted the body on my pony needles, which I really like my pony needles. They're like wooden needles, and they have like quite a specific tip, but I think I knit a lot loose on them than I do on my Knit Pro Symphony, which are my interchangeable set. So when I came to knit the sleeves, I had to redo them. I think I ended up redoing them, yeah, starting twice with 2 different needle sizes. So obviously the body I'd knit on 5.5 while the pattern calls for 7, and I'd done the ribbing, I'd gone down 2 needle sizes, so all the ribbing on this is actually done in 3.5 millimeters. And so I thought, obviously I started with 40 centimeter circular needles in 5.5 as well, and when I tell you, it wasn't even something you'd think would even out in the wash. Like, I think even now you could probably actually still see the lines on the sleeves if you really knew what to look for. But yeah, it looked horrific, so I undid it all once. Then I thought, well, I'll have to go up in like at least 1 needle size, because it was obvious that 5.5 was just too small. So I went up to 7, and was it 6 maybe? It still wasn't great. No matter how much I went up, it wasn't good. So I actually ended up knitting the sleeves on an 8 millimeter. I still kept the ribbing on a 3.5, and to be honest, I think in general I like ribbing on smaller needles, because the sleeves on this really do sit fairly tight. So yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. It feels like a bit like Knit Flitter as talked about before. This felt like a true cast of the cardigan, because it's just such a, yeah, I've never tried having my gauge completely changed when moving from flat to the round like that before. Also, another thing is that monostråle is beautiful, but it's quite itchy. Well, I don't know if it's monostråle or if it's coarse, but something in this can at first felt a bit itchy around my wrist, so I think it very depended. I mean, if my skin is very sensitive, sometimes I just can't touch wool at all. So anyway, that was a very long chat about this. If there's interest for it, I might do like a finished project video on this in more detail, even though I've basically said most things. But yeah, I've had loads of interest on this particular one on my Instagram. And yeah, the pattern itself I would recommend. I'd probably go for a different yarn combo. So that's the main project I've finished. I started at mid-December and I finished just around New Year's Eve. I think I was knitting the first sleeve on New Year's Eve and finished it like 2 days later. So last time I showed you this, which I think I basically just finished a raglan. So now it has little feet. I've done all the sewing up, put all the buttons on as well, which are these really lovely like blue mother of pearls buttons, which I thought was a really lovely choice. So yeah, I'm almost done with the final sleeves, well, with the first sleeve. So you have what I can only translate as turn mittens, just like on the feet. So yeah, I'm almost done with the first sleeve. Just one sleeve to go. I've weaved in all the ends as well, so there shouldn't be too much time left. Still really enjoying it. It's still insane though, the difference in the yarn. Like this, when washed, I think will grow at least one size, but I hope it means that that the little girl I'm knitting it for can use it for longer. And merino, Drops Merino Extra Fine was a brilliant choice for this. I'll link it down below. But yeah, so yeah, that's been quite an enjoyable knit. I just need to push myself to finish it, because the other thing that I'm currently working on, which I haven't actually shared on Instagram, and I realised that when Knitting is My Rehab was asking what I was working on, I realised I hadn't shared it yet, but it's because it's not that easy to show. So for full transparency, this yarn I've received for test knitting, so it's a test knit for knitting for Olive, and this is how far I've gotten. It keeps twisting itself. I think it's just as it like tries to find its way. So you can see there's not really much to see yet because it's knitted bottom up. So it's actually a wrap style cardigan. This is also a wrap style, so sort of similar to this actually. However, this obviously has peplum and this doesn't. So it's called the Darling Slum, and Knitting for Olive just announced that they will be releasing a book in autumn, and that's what this is for. This is about maybe not a full week, but you do have to knit the ties first, and the ties are very long. So yeah, that's been a massive piece of work. I think after I finish the sleepsuit, I'm gonna need another second project that isn't two knit, two purl ribbing, because my wrist bind is really hard. But luckily I should have plenty of time to finish it. That leads on quite nicely to the yarn acquisition. So I told myself I was on a yarn ban, and this has to be the last bits for a while, that's for sure, because I had enough space for anymore. But yeah, the first combo is, so the Darling Slum I'm knitting in Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair. And so when you do a test knit for Knitting for Olive, or at least in my case, you get to pick your own colours. And I was so torn on what to pick. My dear friend Erin spent ages trying to help me figure out what would be a nice combo. But in the end, I decided to go, so both of these are Plum Rose or Blommerwalser, which is, actually it matches my nails so well. You'd think, yeah, clearly I have an obsession with this type of colour just now. But yeah, they go so incredibly well together, and I think it gives this like dusty pink. And I think the style of the wrap is one that I would definitely wear for work. So I was really keen to pick colours that I thought was kind of classic and a bit feminine, because I think that's what this would be. And also the wrap cardigan, I think the way I'll style it is probably with a nice pair of trousers, maybe nice work trousers, and just like a top maybe with a bit of lace here, and that's basically it. So I was really keen to pick that kind of timeless colour. And obviously Knitting for Olive has, if you're into these kind of dusty shades, then loads of like neutrals, they're really nice. Delivery this time took quite a long time, but I don't think that's Knitting for Olive's fault, because obviously it came in December and we all know what December was like. So the next one was actually a very, very, very special Christmas present. This I was so excited to get. So this is from a Danish yarn company called Sandeman. So this yarn is an undyed biodegradable 3-ply yarn made of wool from Danish sheep and goats, and it's spun by one of the few remaining wool specialist mills in Denmark. What's so special about this yarn? So it's lovely and chunky, as you can tell. It's really lovely. It runs really chunky as well. I have already swatched it, and I think I'm going to hold it single strand. So this is 55% kid mohair, 45% merino wool. So this skein is 100 grams and it runs 135 meters per 100 gram. And it's recommended to be knitted on needle 6, but my swatch was on 7 and I hit 14 stitches really easily on 7, which is the type of gauge that you need for sweater number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, Sunday sweater by Petite Knit, etc, etc. So I'm not really sure what this will become, but the reason I really wanted this yarn is that the sheep that this is made from is actually sheep that comes from this tiny little town where my granny grew up, and I just think it's so special to have something like this. And I love this initiative because many of the sheep and goats that are kept in Denmark and other places, we don't actually use the wool very much, and it's kind of crazy to think you have beautiful wool that maybe doesn't really become anything. So Sandeman is one of the companies. There's a few in Denmark just now, but I think Sandeman has lots of beautiful choices. So obviously this is undyed. I don't know if I'm going to be brave enough to dye it myself, but you certainly could. They also have some beautiful sort of merino wools that run a lot longer. I think many of them would be quite fitting for sort of like 4.5 knitting with some mohair, which I was also keen to get, but I knew I wanted some from Ingersvang, so this is why I picked this. And Stina, who runs Sandeman, was so helpful. So my granny actually gave me a gift card, and then I bought more on top of that myself, so I paid the sort of difference in how much I needed to get a sweater quantity. So in total I think I paid £100. Shipping was really good as well. Stina was an absolute star, so I couldn't recommend this enough. When you look, you can see it has almost what looks like speckles in it, but actually isn't. It's because it's not like, it's not that it's not cleaned, but yeah, it's still quite natural, so it's stuff left from the sheep in it. So yeah, happy to take recommendations on what it can become. I would say for softness, I'm really sensitive, so even yarns that are considered soft by most people, I still find slightly itchy. This is knitted in brushed alpaca silk, and that's maybe the only thing I never find itchy, but I do find that mohair is always a tiny bit itchy to me. It just depends. Some days I'm more sensitive than others. Some days, if my eczema is really acting up around here, I can't stand the feel of like wool. So just to say that when I say something is soft, it's probably incredibly soft to people who don't struggle with wool. However, I would say this is more than soft enough for me to wear against my naked skin anywhere but my neck. My neck is definitely the softest, or like the most sensitive part, so I probably wouldn't wear it around my neck, but I would wear it on my body, no bother. And that's something I was quite keen for as well, that I thought that I knew mohair and merino was safe, and as I couldn't feel it and couldn't obviously put it against my neck, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't spend all this money on yarn that was then way too itchy for me to wear without lots of layers underneath. Because of the mohair, I think it has plenty of halo, and I wouldn't hold mohair on its own with it, if I'm honest. Like, I wouldn't use the second strand. So yeah, now the big question is what it's going to become. So I think I'm thinking maybe a chunky dahlia sweater by Lena Samsu, or I've also thought about another Sunday sweater just because it's really classic, it's easy to knit. I think I'd get loads of wear out of it, but yeah, as I said, it's obviously very chunky, but if you have any recommendations, then let me know. The final thing I have to sort of show are my final 3 sort of yarn purchases. So this all started because I needed more. I wanted to make sure I had enough of 2 yarns that I showed in the last episode. So I bought VIP in beige and Filcolana Tilia in latte from knitting knit.co.uk. And I just wanted to make sure I had enough. I was like, oh, you've bought just so you hit it on the gram. And I always kind of feel like, you know, if a pattern says that you need 400 grams of a yarn, then I always like to have 450, because you don't know if the test knitter did loads of knitting gauges. So for example, for the test knit I'm doing for knitting for Olive, I needed a 3 to find exactly where I was, where I hit gauge perfectly. Or if they hid it first go and they used, you know, very little yarn for that. And sometimes maybe you add a bit of length here, you add a bit of length there, or you cast on with a bit of a longer tail than you plan to, etc. So I always buy extra. So that's how this all started, because I told myself I was done buying yarn for ages. And I'm sure we all tell ourselves that all the time. So I told myself that. However, when I was ordering, I was like, I basically was gauge swatching the Serial Packer VIP Maxi combo, which you can see. I'll show you how lovely is that. Slightly pink through it. It's lovely. So anyway, I was gauge swatching that for sweater number 11, which was my original plan for that combo, and I just couldn't hit it. I would have had to go down to way too small needles. Looking back, it might have been because I was using my pony needles, but I was like, I don't think it's going to be completely right. Anyway, I think I hit gauge perfectly for a Sunday, or sorry, no, a Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit. So I think that's what the Serial Packer VIP Maxi will become. However, a sweater number 11 is still very high on my wish list. I think though a Wednesday sweater and a sweater number 9, I was actually speaking to a lovely lady on Instagram today about this. Well, they're quite similar, and I think they'll serve similar purposes in my wardrobe. I think I'd get plenty of use out of them anyway. I'm thinking, you know, while we work at home, I really need more wool to stay warm, and the more layers the better. And also I think they'll still be fashionable next year, and I can imagine wearing them, you know, with like nice work trousers for work when you want to be a bit casual, but still nice enough that that's possible. Or I can see it on the weekend with just a pair of jeans, or chilling on the sofa in pyjama bottoms. So also ordered this combo, which is what I think my sweater number 9 will become. I'll knit Sophie's Universe, I think she's called. She test knitted this from My Favourite Things Knitwear and this exact combo, which I didn't actually realise until after I'd bought it, and then I was like, well, that's quite a lovely combo. So this is Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, which to me is not itchy when I hold it up against my neck, and this is before it's been washed. And I often find that things get much softer when it gets washed, so I felt really comfortable buying this, because as I said, I'm quite sensitive, but I already had some that I'd bought for socks to hold up against my face, and I think it would be fine. This is Nougat, which is I would say quite cool toned dark brown. I think it's always good if I hold my hair. You can probably see my hair is very golden, so I hope they're not going to clash too much. I guess I'll have to see when I start knitting it up. And the second strand for that, I bought Filcolana Telia in light truffle. So I could have gone for this, so I also bought marzipan, a sweater quantity of marzipan, and I did consider just getting latte to go with it, because that's what the original is knitted up in. That's what Louise from My Favourite Things Knitwear picked. And I did consider that because everyone goes crazy for marzipan. It's like the it colour that's never in stock anywhere. I'll hold it up a bit closer. So I don't know if you can see, but it is a beautiful beige that has, I can't remember an English term for it, but it's obviously not like a plain colour. And neither is this, actually, as you can see here. Now I will basically have covered all my beige wishes in my wardrobe. And it's definitely something where I feel quite influenced by Instagram, because initially I wasn't very drawn to beiges, but I think I just need to get some of these out of my system. So I'm holding off a bit on this to figure out exactly what this is going to become. I'll link all of these down below for knit.co.uk. That's where I buy Filcolana in the UK, and I think her prices are really competitive. Oh, I forgot. The final things I should actually probably show you are my other 2 knitting related acquisitions. So I'll quickly show you that I am one of those like all the gear, no idea kind of people. So I absolutely love knitting gear and knitting storage. So this is a Christmas present from my lovely partner. So this is a Knit Pro needle case, which I saw and just thought, that's going to be brilliant. So inside you have these where you can store needles like this, and you have little pockets, And then you have essentially what's a folder. These aren't Myfavouritethingsknitwear, but they fit 40cm needles, circular needles perfectly. And then here on the other side you have this as well. So it's not the best quality, like these are quite wrinkly. So yeah, if there's ever any interest in talking about needle storage, I'd be happy to do that. So got that for Christmas. My partner is obviously a champion. Then for myself, the one thing I really wanted but didn't get was this. So I really wanted blocking mats, especially when I had to start knitting. When I had to test knit the knitting for olive ribbing, I knew that my gauge swatches really needed to be properly blocked to proper know my gauge. So they were all blocked on these. So I thought that when I read reviews, I could tell lots of people are like, yeah, I tried play mats for a little while, but they're just not fit for purpose. And these are the Knit IQ blocking mats. And what I really liked about them is obviously the lines, very easy to get things straight. They come with pins already, and this set is about £40, which I think is very reasonable. Once you have blocked, so I blocked the cardigan properly on it to see what it was like. That could also just have dried flat, and probably what I would do if I had to wash it again. However, what was nice about it is once you've pinned all of the blocks together, you can very easily pick it up and move it, which is another benefit. It's great for knitting gauge swatches, so they're properly dry in a good shape. And also you get 9 blocks in here, so while you can buy more, there's plenty of here for like everyday knitting projects. So I thought this was like the best deal that I had found. As much as I know Amazon is the devil, I will admit I probably buy more of Amazon than I should. And then a final bonus thing was my partner always gets annoyed when I have too many lights on at night time because they glare on the telly. So he bought me this, which still glares, but maybe someone else, it's a neck lamp. So you just turn it on like this and you would be able to see what's in your lap. And I think if we ever were to go away somewhere, I actually think this would be a brilliant thing to take. So yeah, that was plenty of chat for today, I think. I, as usual, will do my best to link everything that I can down below so you can easily find it, all the patterns, etc. I will also link my Ravelry, so if you're interested in like yarn quantities, more information about the colours and all of that of any of my projects, I have all of that on my Ravelry profile. I also try to keep my yarn stash up to date and all of that if you want to have a peek through. And of course, Instagram is where I'm the most active. Today, this Friday, I hit 400 followers on Instagram, which is amazing to me. I never thought 400 people would ever look at my knitting, and I think only about 20 of those actually know me in real life, which I say is pretty good. But yeah, please reach out if you have any questions or comments. If there's anything you'd like me to talk more about, let me know. I'm very keen this year to try to do a video once a week, just to stay sane in these mad times. So yeah, hope you're all well, and I will see you soon. Bye!